Across West Coast Central Florida, an unusual sight has become a familiar one. Houses rising into the air. Nearly 2 years after Helene and Milton, this is what recovery looks like. Not just rebuilding, but rebuilding up. For the folks who lived through the water, a single choice had to be made. Raise, rebuild, or walk away from their home. In Madeira Beach, Robert Sawyer chose to rise.
I'd always seen the tides rising, and then the storms come.
A retired airline pilot, Robert had thought about lifting his beach house for years. Helene made the choice for him.
I had 51 inches of water. It was awful, just awful. Yeah, we had sludge 6 inches deep down the driveway. The whole backyard was full of stuff that had come in from over on the other side of the peninsula. It literally looked like a war zone.
Today, his house is safely out of the flood zone, but Robert still isn't in. He's under it, living in a camper parked underneath the house, his sense of humor firmly intact.
This is the beach house. That's right. Yeah, I've come a long way. I'm living in a trailer now. No, I'm kidding.
For Robert, the math made sense. Lifting cost far less than tearing down and starting over, turning his old ground floor into brand new space.
Lifting is going to be expensive, but relatively it's nothing compared to if I were to tear the house down and rebuild. As I have a garage that's above me now, it's about 360 square feet that was not part of the house. So suddenly that becomes usable space at $500 to $700 a square foot. That pays for my lift.
But getting there wasn't simple. Robert qualified for the state's Elevate Florida program after he'd already started paying for the lift himself. The program does not reimburse work already underway, and Robert wasn't being allowed to use the building plans that he wanted. So he walked away from the help.
My neighbors have been approved for Elevate Florida, and they say it's on track, but they don't know when it's going to start. And, their house, nothing's got done with that yet, and mine's lifted.
Across the Pinellas County Peninsula in St. Petersburg's Riviera Bay, Courtney Stein made a different choice. She's one of the fortunate ones already home. When Helene hit, she had 39 inches of water inside the house.
Opening up, your kitchen cabinets and just having everything filled with water and family pictures floating on the floor, and just knowing that everything that you're building is gone in that moment.
Even with her home underwater, Courtney Stein and her husband turned it into a relief hub. The neighbors called it Steinmart.
Within 24 hours, we had 50 people lined up to go help and knock on doors and do wellness checks and check on our senior citizens.
Her garage is still full of boxes, and her backyard, well, it opens onto a soundtrack that hasn't stopped in 2 years, and it's getting louder.
So this is the new anthem of Riviera Bay. Listen.
Yes, the anthem is saws.
Saws, hammers.
Yes.
It's the sound of a neighborhood remaking itself, one house at a time. But not everyone gets to stay for the ending.
You get a tale of two cities. You have the people that, have been able to push their way through, and then there's people that are still sitting with homes that are gutted.
Many are still trapped in red tape, waiting on permits, or caught by a federal rule that forces a hard choice. It's the 50-50 FEMA rule. If repairs top half of a home's value, it must be rebuilt to today's flood standards. Stay under that line, and you can rebuild as you were. For some, the numbers just don't work, and they sell.
The basic human need is to have a place to land, and finally being back home has been just so good for us, so good for our soul to finally be able to take a nice deep breath.
Courtney and her family moved 6 times in the weeks and months after the storms before finally coming home.
Home sweet home has taken on different meaning.
Yes, it absolutely has. I'm never leaving.
2 hurricane seasons in, some neighbors are home, but many are not. The work, well, it goes on. For generations, Florida's answer to a hurricane often came after the storm. Clean up, distribute emergency dollars, rebuild. But now a different idea is taking hold. Get ahead of the water before it arrives. When Helene and Milton came, this barrier stood between Tampa General Hospital and the Bay.
My name is Patrick Hansen. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Aquafence.
The Aquafence looks simple. It isn't. The panels are engineered for each building, and the physics in each panel work with the flood.
The more water, the more stable the system is. So the weight of the water actually keeps the system in place.
Tampa General Hospital sits on a man-made island dredged from the bottom of Tampa Bay a century ago. It's in a mandatory evacuation zone and about 8 feet above sea level. The Aquafence nearly doubles that, holding back surge up to 15 feet. And through both Hurricanes Helene and Milton, this hospital never closed.
Look at Tampa General. 900 people in that hospital did not have to evacuate, and that's not because of Aquafence, that's because of the leadership at Tampa General, how they took this serious and actually did what it took in order to protect the hospital.
It's not just hospitals. The same approach is going up around the things we might never think about until they go offline. That lesson hit home in St. Pete. When Helene's surge came, the city had to power down its northeast sewer plant, and for nearly 3 days, a quarter of the city's residents could not flush a toilet or run the water. Nothing could go down a drain.
Lift stations, that's life continuity. So we have clean water. We can go to the bathroom. We can use the stove. We can cook. Like, very, very essential. And it's important, very important.
Downtown, a critical lift station just 6 feet above the bay came within inches of flooding for the first time ever. The city's answer, a 9-foot barrier so next time the system stays up.
Florida is phenomenal at being reactive. We can be better at being proactive and thinking about so we don't have to have this disruption that we've seen lately.
That same word, proactive, is remaking entire neighborhoods. Because for thousands of homeowners, a federal rule robbed them of choice.
If your house is damaged more than 50%, you have to put your house in compliance, which is to lift the house, or you have to tear the house down and build new. They're not letting you fix your house if you're over 50% damaged.
Davy Shoring raises about 200 homes a year. It's one of the biggest lifters in the state. The old ground floor becomes a new living space. Often, the resulting gains in home value indirectly help pay for the lift itself. Nearly 2 years after Helene and Milton, they are still busy, almost as busy as day one.
2 years after the storm, we're probably 75% as busy as we were when it first started. So there's still people wanting to go up. It's still a thing that they're going to have to do. They don't want to get flooded again.
The state tried to help with a program called Elevate Florida. It covers 75% of the cost to raise a home. More than 12,000 families applied, but the budget covered only about 2,000 homes. In Pinellas County alone, nearly 4,000 families applied. And a year later, the state had yet to start construction on a single home through the program, still waiting on federal approval. Most residents who could afford it stopped waiting, and they lifted their homes themselves. For Greg, the math made sense.
The floods are not going to change. They're going to get worse. Ian changed the coastline for clear from Fort Myers clear up to here. It brought sand and silt into the estuaries. It filled the estuaries up. Now when we have a storm like Milton that was 100 miles off the coast, it flooded everything around because there's nowhere for the water to go. At high tides, the water comes in. It's just going to be a way of life now.
2 paths, 1 idea. Protect what matters before the water comes, not after.